Good morning. Thank you all for joining. We are very excited to have you here with you today. We are with Pierre Person, member of the French Parliament, who's been actively involved in defending the crypto assets ecosystem since 2017. And today we're going to discuss your report, Pierre, that you've published a few days ago, a very detailed and very important report in which you address the state of the ecosystem, but you also put forward a number of 22 propositions to the regulators, French and European, on the crypto assets, including NFTs, stablecoins, CBDCs, and more importantly, how they should grasp the opportunities that the crypto asset industry and this technology presents, and how they should remain in the innovation race that the US and China already started some time ago, and how they should preserve their monetary sovereignty. So we're going to discuss all that with Nicolas Bacca, who's the co-founder and VP Innovation Lab at Ledger. And Nicolas, you're here to address the technical points because I believe that in order to really understand and address the regulatory questions that are arising, we should have a very comprehensive and multidisciplinary approach. So that's what we're going to try to do today. And I am Morgane. I am a lawyer at Kramer Levin. I'm specialized in regulatory of crypto assets, but also traditional assets. And before that, I was a legal counsel at Ledger. So let's start. Pierre, what is your assessment on the state of the ecosystem now, and what has changed since your last report?
Thank you very much, Morgane. I'm very pleased to be here because it's my last day as a MP. I was MP since 2017, and I discovered blockchain in 2013. And when I was elected, I tried to understand, to do education about blockchain to help my colleague and other French people to understand, to better understand the aim of this technology and the impact of blockchain. So I published a report in 2018, and it was quite different than the last report that I published 2 weeks ago, because the ecosystem is quite different right now that it was in 2018. 2018 was the year of the ICO. It was the question about the Bitcoin, the monetary aspects. What is Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin? Is it a currency or it is an asset, etc. Right now, there is so much use case and DeFi, about stablecoin, about CBDC, a lot of debate, and the ecosystem is quite different. So I work on many subjects, like you said, sovereignty about monetary, the war between America and China with the dollar, stablecoins dollar, which are private, and CBDC, digital one, which is public money, and the impact of this two currency on the economic world, and the situation of the Europe, which, in my point of view, is nowhere right now, nowhere about currency, nowhere about the economical aspect of blockchain, and I try to do some proposition to help the ecosystem and help public decider to improve the legislation in Europe.
Thank you, Pierre. And actually, it's true that you may all have heard about MiCA and TFR, which are now being discussed at the European level. And when you drafted your first report, nothing like that was being envisaged. So we can see that the ecosystem is now of interest for the public deciders. What do you think about how MiCA and TFR address the ecosystem? Do you think they have the right approach, or? No?
I think I'm pro-regulation. I think we need some good regulation, because regulation help people, creating job, creating companies, and help to democratize this technology. But we need to try to reach an equilibrium between hard regulation and no regulation. So in France, we built the first legal framework in 2019, and right now there is a lot of debate in Europe to spread a global framework for all the state members. And I think it's a good point because the framework will be the same between state members. There will be no dumping between state members like we have seen the past years. But in other way, there is a big problem. It's the regulation on the there is so much translation of the banking regulation on crypto asset. And in my point of view, TFR and MiCA are problematic because the way that they are built may decrease the innovation in Europe. I can take some example on MiCA about stablecoin. Right now, with the legislation, if it's passed, if the law pass, there will be no stablecoin, no private stablecoin, and systemic stablecoin to fight against dollar stablecoin like Tether or Circle, because it will be just impossible to build a business with these rules. It will be the same for VSAP, which are this technical provider about crypto asset, and it will be very difficult to be judged by the rule of MiCA, because there is a lot of constraint in this text, and there will be a breach between American company and other company with a European company. So I think we need to teach, to better educate political and politics, and because right now I'm very worried about the way that is taken on this text.
Thank you, Pierre. It's true that the regulation is a transposition somehow of MIF 2, which was sought for the traditional crypto assets and actors, which are centralized, so really not adapted. And even the definitions, there is no granularity or really case-by-case analysis like the Americans can do. A crypto assets, there is a fixed definition that is not able to really grasp all the subtleties of the NFTs. What is an NFT? What is a crypto asset? It encompasses a wide variety of assets, and this is not translated into MiCA. And Nicolas, could you talk a little bit about how the industry is getting prepared, for example, to TFR? I know that you're working on very exciting projects on the ID.
Yes, yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Morgane. So, yeah, today I would say the point that the regulation is based on typical banking regulation is totally hits. I mean, the biggest problem about what the people are trying to build over there. Because if we are just looking at KYC, for example, we have much more efficient way, I mean, on the blockchain to look at what users are doing. I mean, that was like my previous talk. You can spy on everything that people are doing on the blockchain, so you don't really need to be that specific about identifying users. And well, the cryptography which is used by those mechanisms is basically cryptography dating back from the 80s. I mean, we are much more advanced on the crypto scene. I mean, on the crypto asset scene. And I would like to point, for example, what the advancements that have been done in zero knowledge proofs and how this could be applied to KYC today. Because rather than just going through different providers and identifying users with all the risks that are related to that, so you don't want to create honeypots of personal data and a lot of different exchanges. You could just, for example, connect to a KYC provider which is part of a group of KYC provider, identify, let's say, as well, you provide your passport, you get back a signed proof telling your nationality, and then you're able to create a zero knowledge proof, so a proof that will not require you to get back to the KYC provider later, saying, I'm not an American. So you will not be contacting a KYC provider to do that. KYC provider will be telling you, I'm French, and you would say, I'm not an American by yourself, and you would be able to prove that to different parties that might need this information. And so that's not science fiction. I mean, that's something that can be built with modern cryptography today. And in my opinion, this is the kind of thing that should be considered when drafting such regulation, because you can't just say that regulation dating back from the 80s can apply to crypto assets running in 2022. I mean, we are just missing the point if we do that, and we are missing a lot of interesting features. And I can see in the future, and I hope that regulators will be looking at what we are able to do in crypto assets and apply it to the banking space. So the other way around. I mean, we can definitely improve privacy and how users are interacting with their own money.
Interesting.
Yes, there is a mistake from politics. It is a bad shortcut when politics said, it looks like payment, so we need to regulate as a payment. It's a nonsense, because this kind of payment doesn't work like right now payments work. Payments work with bank, with intermediaries, yes. And the intermediaries are switching are sharing the confiance, the trust in the system. With the blockchain, we don't need any intermediaries, so there is no intermediaries which shares the trust in the system. So we need to review our view about how to regulate this system with the new guidelines, new guidelines, because it doesn't work like the old system.
Yeah, true. We cannot just copy-paste something that has been solved for a centralized system, because it's very different. And actually, even the text, and I'm talking about under your control, Julien, because we have the head of regulatory affairs at Ledger, who's one of the most knowledgeable about those regulations. But those regulations have been they attempt to regulate a technology which is really not adapted. And we have seen a lot of issues with that, especially with proof of work. And I know that you've been actively involved in really fighting against that, Pierre. Could you tell a bit more about what happened? Because under MiCA, there's been a proposal in the parliamentary version a couple months ago to really ban proof of work in Europe, but not just the mining. Crypto asset service providers, so exchanges, couldn't have been able to list any assets that was relying on a proof of work protocol. So this would have resulted in a ban of Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum. So this would have been really dramatic. And you've been acting against that, Pierre. You've been posting tweets, and this resulted in the proposition being withdrawn. Could you tell us a bit more about how this is really unfair and a nonsense, actually, in light of the economical, the environmental impact, etc., of proof of work?
Yes, I think we need, in this case, to change our point of view. The subject about proof of work is not about energy; it's about what type of energy. In my point of view, I was agree with kind of proposition which lead to forbid mining on carbon energy, because this is a way to regulate the ecosystem, to be sure that there will be no pollution with mining. But speaking about mining without understand the way that it works and what type of energy and how miners do their work, it's clear nonsense. So we have to convince politics to better understand the industry, which is working a lot of with hydroelectric energy or wind energy. And so on, and to say that okay, we can forbid mining on carbon energy, but there is no type of industry in Europe right now. But the way that it was considered, it's a big breach with the natural principle of neutrality of the technology, because nowadays we can know how much is the consumption of Bitcoin in energy, but we don't know how much the traditional bank system is consuming. So and right now, no politics said because ATM are open all night long, we need to close the ATM. So we must try to have a better proposition about proposal about mining, and to know what the aim of mining. We have seen some entrepreneurs, French entrepreneurs, who are working about hydroelectric electricity mining, and it's helped to build new infrastructure of hydroelectric production in Africa. And so it's not black or white, it's in the middle, and we need to better understand this industry to regulate it.
True, true. And it's also because we often hear the argument that, you know, we can replace proof of work by proof of stake, which consumes less energy. But Nicolas, could you tell us a bit more about why actually proof of work and proof of stake are completely different?
If we are looking, I mean, if we are looking at it on the security side, we can't really say that both are equivalent and that one can be replaced by the other. I mean, first, if we just look at the security properties, I mean, the security proof that we have for both, security proof is much more simple for proof of work. So proof of work, we know what people are doing, and unless we are missing some completely new breakthrough, I mean, in the way we are brute forcing hashes, we know what we can expect, and we know that we won't have a big disruption. Proof of stake, usually you have to think about economical aspects when you are designing the protocol from scratch, and it's all about how you are going to punish people who are doing bad things. Because if you don't do that when you design a proof of stake protocol, you are going to run into issues. So we have seen this, I mean, for several experimentation in the past. And so if your security needs are that you want something that is proven, simple, and on which you can rely for a long time, I mean, without asking too many questions, you can't really compare both. And one other aspect I think that's interesting is if you compare, I mean, if you take again from the security perspective, the case of an attacker which managed to which managed to overtake the network at some point. If you want to overtake a proof of work network, you still have to be consuming energy in order to keep inside the network. I mean, because just getting more than 51% is one thing, but then you have to keep running at your own cost the network in order to keep the majority. If you are doing an attack on a proof of stake network, then it's completely different. So again, I would say, well, people need to think about why we are picking those consensus algorithms. We might not be just able to replace one by the other. I mean, we can run into several attempts. I mean, for example, with Ethereum, we can think that the network has been distributed enough. I mean, assets have been distributed enough during the first phase of the proof of work network to move into proof of stake. We'll see how that works. I mean, I am optimistic, but well, I'm not an expert on those exact perspectives. But for a new network to start running into proof of stake like from nothing, it's not the best choice. So, but again, that's very technical. That's even, I mean, more technical than just thinking about the algorithms, because you need to think about security. And I think regulators need to be better informed about that when drafting regulations.
Actually, it's interesting because I guess you've all heard about the fact that the SEC got interested into the BNB of Binance and considers that it might be a security. And they took into account the fact that on the blockchain, on the network, there are few validators, and so that is taken into consideration to demonstrate by the SEC that there is no such decentralization, and that may actually weigh against BNB and help qualify it as a security. So we can also see that the regulators, at least in the US, understand the degree of decentralization of a network and take that into consideration when considering whether the entity running the protocol has control over it. So that is something interesting. And there is a subject that is very important for you, Pierre, I know, and that you've really detailed in your report, which is Europe's sovereignty, monetary sovereignty, and how we should actually, in Europe, really address the question of stablecoins and CBDCs, and what should Europe do for you now to really remain in the innovation race and preserve its place? Because we know that China...
So the main point is about euro stablecoin. There is no euro stablecoin that are systemic in the ecosystem. Right now, 99% of the volume is in dollar stablecoin, and United States are strict about circle, less for Tether, but they are very happy to have this object, because they are spreading the sovereignty in a monetary aspect all over the world in this new ecosystem, which may be the new finance tomorrow. And it's help America to be more hegemonical.
Important,
yeah, okay. And it spreads the dollar all over the world, and in some country like South of America, Argentina, etc. So, and in the other part of the world, there is China who is building is a digital one, a public currency with the central bank, and the aim of this one digital one is to better control its population and to open a new monetary area with Africa, with east of Asia, and between these two giants, there is Europe with no strategy. The Europe are saying, and ECB are repeating a lot, we need some digital euro, okay, but what kind of digital euro? Is it a retail digital euro? It is a wholesale digital euro? Is it working with a commercial bank? Who is the issuer? Is the issuer is the ECB? Is it centralized, decentralized? It is anonymous, or it is completely clear for this state member? So there is a lot of questions that ECB doesn't have the answer yet. And we need to have a political debate on this, because it's not the ECB alone on itself to create this object. It is the citizen to decide which type of currency we need and which type of currency we want. And right now, there is no debate. The ECB are saying 2, 3, 4 years there will be a Euro digital, but we can't wait. We can't wait. The innovation is too fast. I don't see ECB adjusting or changing the technology behind the digital euro to be interoperable. Comment tu dirais ça? Interoperable to all the blockchain and layer one. So we need to open the regulation to have private stablecoin in euro, because it's necessary to help and defend the European sovereignty. There is so much actors, traditional actors or même new crypto actors that want a digital euro, private or public, but a stablecoin in euro. And right now there is no way to have it. The only one are Stasis, which are built by Russian. There is some great company like Angle that algorithmic stablecoin, but they are not right now systemic. And we need those objects to help to defend sovereignty.
And it's especially important that we people have a voice, a word to say in that, because as we can see in China, there are a lot of problematics around personal identity, PII, personal information that is being collected and used against you, that can be used against you either for political reasons or commercial exploitation. So, as you said in your report, and it's very important that the European Central Bank shouldn't be the only one in charge of deciding over such an important problematic for us. And could you see in the following years a European stablecoin being issued and being able to actually compete against Tether and Circle and all those US-backed, dollar-backed stablecoins? I know that, Nicolas, you also have an opinion on that. So.
Yeah, I think that definitely people are asking for it, and it might come from the guys who are designing different cryptocurrencies, because we like the pseudonymity of cryptocurrencies. And I think what will make such a protocol successful is the way we are able to deal with the liquidity we have in the secondary markets, in DeFi and so on. The example I like example of Tether. So Tether had a euro, for some time. Pretty much nobody heard about it until it started getting included in pools, in Curve along with Angle and Jarvis, so the other synthetic, more or less synthetic euros. So we see here that the community has been the driving factor, for Tether popularity, because before those being included in those DeFi protocols and in those pools, pretty much nobody heard about it. So we should definitely see what people are asking for, even if competing with dollar on decentralized, on DeFi today is going to be pretty difficult, because it is basically everywhere. But we still have something to do.
And you, Pierre, how do you think?
I think the stablecoin issuer have to be more transparent. It's a big problematic right now. We have seen with UST, but we've seen with Tether, and I think why there is no Euro Tether, no volume in Euro Tether. It's about transparency. If you want to use a dollar, the dollar is systemic in the ecosystem. There is more liquidity, more volume, less spread, etc. And right now there is no use case for euro. And if you want to use an euro, you will use the dollar, the dollar one for Tether. So right now the objective is to create some private stablecoin, because there is no opposition between CBDC and private stablecoin. I think we can have CBDC and have a private stablecoin, but right now, if we see the MiCA rules, the MiCA text, I think it will be quite hard to create some company in this kind of sectors in Europe. And I'm very worried, because I think the issuer of euro stablecoin, which will be regulated by other countries than in member states. And we have seen that Circle issue a euro stablecoin last week, and it will be on the market for the end of the month. And it's quite a joke, because the first regulator which will lead the regulation on euro stablecoin will be the American.
And it's sad, because Circle actually took the other path. They decided to be completely transparent about how they manage their reserves. They're being audited, etc., not like Tether. So it's a reaction to that. But they are regulated by the US. And in Europe, because of all the very complicated terms in the regulation that is coming under MiCA, no issuers will really want to be implanted in in Europe. So they will just go abroad, and Europe will just leave its citizens without a proper regulation to protect them. That's what you always say, Julien, that we will not stop the technology, we will not stop the adoption of this technology. It's just that the users will stay and the companies will live in jurisdictions that are less or more lightly regulated. And it's really sad, because we're losing opportunities to create giants in our continent. So
It's quite well resumed. Yeah, maybe have you got some questions?
Thank you very much for this panel. You mentioned the KYC and the first regulation that extended its scope of application about crypto assets or virtual currencies is the anti-money laundering European legislation. I would like to know if you can also use KYC made by other providers, like you mentioned KYC providers, because in Belgium we have a quite well-known application which is called It's Me. It was created by the traditional banks and the telecom operators. So once you open an account, you are identified face-to-face, and then you agree to share the information with other service providers, and through APIs, you can exchange information about nationality, residence, name, date of birth, and other private information. How would this work in France, for example? Would you consider that the KYC is compliant if you use this kind of KYC providers, for example? We see more and more cryptocurrency exchange platforms using this service KYC providers through APIs, for example.
It's quite difficult to explain in English for me, but I will try. In France, the regulation was very old about identification. You know, for some actors, for bank actors or crypto actors, we need to prove with sending a wire to prove the identity and the banking account and the link between one person and his account. There is so much condition to have a full identification of people. But we modify the law to better integrate new technology like facial recognition, etc. And if it is a first step, but tomorrow I think the main subject in Web 3.0 will be the DID, because you will keep your information for you, and you may be send the information to the others that you are KYC'd and you are French, you are not American, etc. So you will keep your information. You will not send your ID. You will not send personal information, and you will be pay for it. I think it's a new model that with a wallet, in your wallet with NFT or Sol token, you can create some type of use cases to help people to have a better work of the system and to keep their information.
Yeah, definitely. But I think the system, so, well, I can't comment on the regulation part, of course, but I think the system you described regarding what is already implemented in Belgium is very close to, well, to the claim, I mean, to all claim-oriented systems that are going to be designed for decentralized ID. So I would say that's already a pretty good step in the right direction. On the technical side, it probably needs to have a little bit more of Web3 sugar around it. So thinking about NFTs, proofs, and so on, but it's, I would say, it looks fairly advanced, I mean, from what you described already.
Thank you, sir. Hello. My question will be regarding the demand for the Euro stablecoin. We see that Tether issued their Euro stablecoins, the URT. And the thing is, today in the crypto markets, the Europeans represent a really small part of investors, and the value or investment basically is not driven from Europe. So especially when you see how the euro has performed comparing to the US dollar this year, what would be the interest for people to use the euro stablecoin today, especially when you see, for example, as you mentioned, Curve, when you put your euro stablecoins into Curve, you're rewarded with CRV tokens. The CRV tokens cannot be exchanged against the euro, so you have to go through dollar again. So what would drive the demand for the crypto euro, basically?
I think the first use case of stablecoin is about payment, is to cut all the chain, the value chain, and to improve the use case of payment. So we will need a euro stablecoin because we consume in euro, we are paying in euro, and there is 30% of the integral weight of dollars in the currency ratio. You know, the 30% of dollar, euro represents 30% of dollar. So I agree with you that we have less funds which are investing than American, and so a lot of the traction of USD stablecoin is about investing, but we need an on-ramp euro stablecoin to go to the traditional fiat system, to go in cryptocurrency. So there is a demand. Yes, it's less than the USD demand, but when the ecosystem will be mature, we will need a euro stablecoin to do some activities like we do, because if we think that national state currency will exist tomorrow, we will need a euro stablecoin.
And I think, for example, typically for a crypto company located in Europe, I mean, going to pay invoices in euro, it's much more convenient to be able to deal with a European bank that will be banking in euro, rather than going through the conversion to dollars and so on, and having a provider that could do that. I mean, would be great. I mean, and there are already people doing this today in Switzerland, I think. But I can think, yeah, European investors who want to stay in euro and don't want to be exposed to dollars for multiple reasons, I don't know. I mean, maybe they don't like the extraterritoriality or whatever. They will have an opportunity to do that, and it will be a good thing. And even to bring more investors to the ecosystem. So I know it's a bit snake biting its own tail, but yeah, I still think it can be useful.
Hello, thank you. I hear that the legislator is trying to compare apples and pears and attributing rules made in the 80s to a technology that's brand new. But when you hear the legislator, he talks about protecting consumers, about trying to avoid get-rich-quick schemes, and we see a lot of crypto is sold in that way. A lot of the main actors are trading platforms. And how do we enforce proper legislation to reduce those problems, reduce the power of those entities to give more power to the real crypto world that we were just discussing about?
In my point of view, the better way to protect people is to have our own company on the territory. We can't regulate companies which are operating all over the world. We have seen with Binance, we have seen with UST. Right now, if you want to be to sue UST or Terra Foundation, it's quite impossible. So we need to have our companies in our territory, and after that we can speak about sovereignty. Sovereignty is not possible in Web 2 and Web 3 if we just see the sovereignty with rules applying to other companies all over the world. So my first point is about that. We need to do a fair regulation to innovate in Europe, and after that to apply guidelines to our companies, and not wanted to regulate GAFAM or other companies that are American or Chinese.
And from my point of view of completely not being a regulator, I would say that I would be more interested in regulators starting very strong and very hard regulation about people advertising those schemes to the public, rather than the schemes themselves. Because of course, in a decentralized system, I mean, everybody will always be able to create new schemes. The full point is to be able to transact freely, so there will always be people creating those kind of schemes. But if we regulate like influencers, for example, that are really promoting those, it's a large part of solving the problem, in my opinion. I mean, and probably a better one than trying to play whack-a-mole with, well, on a decentralized system.
Yeah. Okay. I think we have time for one last question.
So my question goes to Mr. Bacca. When political representatives said they want to regulate the crypto ecosystem, I think they mean we want to more control on the crypto industry, and we want more security for crypto users. So my question is, at which point do you think that user experience design can be a solution to reach this goal, this security goal, and at which point it can be a solution for the mass adoption, or the key for the mass adoption? And just a second question, but in the same way, for you, what is the place for the young communication strategists or designers in the industry? Because we also said, we always said we want more and more developers, but what's the place for communication and design in the crypto ecosystem? Thank you.
Thanks for the question, and I definitely think we should spend more time on design and discussing design issues. I mean, there has been something done on Bitcoin, I mean, regarding that, and I think it's a very good activity, because the idea is to make things that are very complex very clear to the user. I mean, that's always the point, and that's how we are reaching mass adoption and how we are avoiding scams the same way. I mean, that was basically my previous presentation. If you understand what you're doing, you are not going to be scammed. So I think the end goal is to have something that's completely decentralized and as easy to use as your bank application today. So when you're investing into something today, everybody can understand that. Clicking a button, you know your rate, you know that you are going to be stuck with your bank for a long period of time. So that's the part that we will be skipping with those applications. But we should have applications that completely put the complexity of blockchain, layer 1, layer 2. So the example with Bitcoin was about Lightning. Well, Lightning is super complicated to use, and so there has been some designers, I mean, commenting on it and trying to make it better. And so the end game is really this for me. I mean, we should have applications that are as easy to use as banking application, but completely decentralized in the background and completely giving all freedom to the user. So definitely, I think we should put designers into a broader light. And on Web3, it's pretty, I would say it's pretty easy because everybody can join a community. I mean, people, this association could have a talk on different conferences. I mean, you have the ETH Global organizing those conferences all over the world. So that it would be easy to push for this movement and then to get it standardized, I mean, the open source way, and that would be the right way to tackle the problem, in my opinion.
All right, thanks a lot for all your questions. Thanks a lot, Morgane, Pierre, and Nicolas, for this very interesting discussion and then for answering the questions. I think we can give them a round of applause.